Okay, transmedia storytelling is a new term, a new concept, but as a phenomenon, it's quite old. We could talk, for example, about 100 years ago, stories such as Alice in the Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz, Tarzan, are considered, pioneer kinds of stories related to transmedia storytelling. But the term, the concept of transmedia storytelling was coined by Professor Henry Jenkins from the US in 2003. So in this sense, it's quite new, and probably because of that, it's still wildly open. So it's more an elusive concept than an ultimate idea or definition of transmedia storytelling. Nevertheless, we can still trace some of the main characteristics of transmedia storytelling according to Henry Jenkins, who first conceptualized it. So we could think about transmedia storytelling involving, well, first of all, number one, multiple media platforms. So it's more than one medium. It's not just a book, it's not just a movie, it's not just a video game, but it's a kind of story that is spread out through several media platforms. For example, a TV series, a book, a comic book, a video game, etc. So the second aspect, very important, it is about the expansion of content, which means that the story is spread out across different media platforms in the sense that the story is expanded, the story is growing, and the story has new elements, new information, new content, and not the repetition. This is very crucial for understanding transmedia storytelling. So transmedia storytelling is not about the repetition of the content, but the expansion. So new and relevant content that is presented in different media platforms. And the third element, very important for understanding transmedia storytelling, is audience engagement. Well, engagement is a kind of buzzword nowadays, and there are several different understandings of engagement. But for us right now, we could think about at least two main aspects. One is interaction, and other is participation. So the audience can somehow be involved into the story. So with these three elements, we can think about transmedia storytelling as an integrated experience. So we have all these elements spread out to different platforms with the collaboration of the audience, but in an organized way, in an integrated way, not loosely displayed. So this is the main idea of transmedia storytelling. Transmedia storytelling is also interesting to mention that it is not just related to fictional stories, but also to non-fictional content. So for example, nowadays we have transmedia storytelling related to activism, related to politics, journalism, marketing, branding, not just entertainment. So this is interesting to highlight. And also we could talk about different kinds of transmedia stories or transmedia projects. So Robert Pratton, he suggests three different types of transmedia stories. The first one, probably the most common one, is called Transmedia Franchise. What does it mean? So a transmedia franchise is probably the idea that everybody has in mind about transmedia. So maybe the most famous example is The Matrix. So this project from 1999 with the trilogy of 3 movies, but also several other extensions related to the story world of The Matrix. So we have the films, but we also have the animated films, and we have comics, and then we have video games, computer games, etc. So what is the main characteristic of a franchise? So in a franchise, we have all these elements of the story spread through different media platforms, but they are somehow independent, which means that, well, if you want, you can just watch one movie from The Matrix, and then you can enjoy, and then you can have, a good time, and you will be satisfied with it. Maybe you would like to watch the 3 movies to have more in-depth understanding of the story, and then you will enjoy. But maybe you will never watch the movies, but you play the game, and this is okay. So the idea that all these different elements can function as an entry point, so a way that for people to be in touch, to start to be in touch with this story world, and once they are inside this story world, they can choose if they want to migrate and go throughout all the other extensions that are being offered to them. So this is the idea of transmedia franchise. The second is called portmanteau transmedia. So portmanteau, not French word, that would mean port, to carry, and manteau is a jacket. So a kind of suitcase that you could put things inside. So the idea of portmanteau is more in the sense that, well, we have different elements across different media platforms, but they are kind of dependent on each other for the audience to really understand what is going on, for the audience to really have a good experience. And the classic example of portmanteau transmedia is alternate reality game. So the alternate reality game, it is well known, I think, nowadays already, and it's a kind of game that has as its motto, "This is not a game," in the sense that it is a kind of puzzle solving or treasure hunt experience, in the sense that people will have to follow the clues and go from a website, for example, to receiving a phone call, and then going to a live event, or coming back to a blog online. So normally alternate reality games involve online and offline experiences, and for the audience to make sense of the story, they should go through all the elements in order to do so. So this is the idea of portmanteau transmedia. And the third is called complex transmedia experience, and it's basically a combination of the 2 others. So when we have the parts of the story that are franchise, in the sense that they can be experienced independently, but we also maybe have an alternate reality game involved in this story world. So a good example would be here Lost. So Lost, the TV series, everybody knows. Lost was built to be a transmedia story, and besides the TV series, it has several other elements. So we have games, we have several websites, and also we have an alternate reality game called The Lost Experience. So the combination of the franchise with the alternate reality game would give us what is called the complex transmedia experience. And maybe for us now to conclude, we could think about one of the main questions related to transmedia storytelling, which is, well, what for? Now, why do we need transmedia stories, or do we really need this kind of production? It is all about the money involved in it. So these kinds of questions are relevant for us to stop and try to understand the value of this kind of experience. We could say that, well, first of all, of course, it is related to making money, can be. This is true. For example, if we are talking about all these Hollywood blockbusters related to transmedia, such as Avatar, for example, of course, the financial aspect, the profit, so the intention to make money out of it, it is involved. But we believe that's not just this, and it's not just as simple as making money. Why? Because there are several other projects that are totally not related to making profit or are at all not related to having a big budget. So it's very interesting to also realize that for us to produce a transmedia project, we do not necessarily need all the resources that Hollywood has, for example. In this sense, we could have as examples all the activism projects being produced all over the world that normally are absolutely not for profit and do not have any kind of intention to make money out of it, but it normally has the intention to bring awareness for people about certain issues. We could say then that the point of transmedia storytelling is to offer a more meaningful experience for the audience, to offer an enriched experience in the sense that people that are interested in a certain story world and a certain issue can have the opportunity to go deeper and have more information, to go deeper and be able to know more about this story world that they like, that they are related to, and that somehow are significant for them.